Hello, Tyler. Are you there?
Recording in progress.
Okay. Well, anyhow, let's start this first.
Hi there. No, I'm here. Hi, everyone.
Hi. So let's call to order the Hamilton Master Plan Steering Committee for September 20th, 2023. Bill Wilson isn't here right now, so this is Rosie Kennedy instead opening the meeting, and we'll do roll call. I don't see anybody on, well, I spoke too soon, so we will have to do an actual roll call. I see Tad trying to click in there. Allow to talk, okay. Okay, so we'll do roll call. We'll start with Dana.
Dana Alera, present.
Marnie Crouch, present.
Jack Lawrence present.
Tad.
Ted Ackworth present.
And Rosie Kennedy present. So here we go. So this is our call to order, and we have
What time are you calling it out?
6:30, is it 6:35? We'll call it 6:35. And our first item on the agenda is approval of 10, count them, 10 sets of meetings, 10 sets of meeting minutes. They include minutes that our collective group has done and also minutes that Weston and Sampson has done. So I will entertain a motion to approve those 10 sets of minutes.
So moved.
Could before we move to approve them, I had a few issues with some of them. So the minutes from January 27th, 2022,
127.
that was the set of minutes that I did have an issue with.
I-
I don't know who prepared them, so I won't throw them under the bus. But there was no caption, okay? It just, the minutes just started. There was no indication of who was present. And then there was a lot of references to individuals who were not identified. So I don't think they need to be expanded or anything like that, but I think to comply with the state law requirements, you do have to have, I believe, more of a caption, and you do have to indicate the members who were present so you can ascertain that there was a quorum.
Okay, so we will put those on hold then. Shall we do that?
Well, yes, and I think we should just identify who did them and make
Yeah.
those comments.
Well,
And then,
Yeah, I at this moment have no idea, so.
right, so then, the only, I had, there were some, the 10/28/21 meetings. It looked like Jim Rorden's name was spelled wrong and another person's name was cut off.
Whose name?
Jim Reardon's,
Oh, Jim Reardon, name were,
and then there was another person present, but their name was, it looked like a typo. And then with respect to the 8/12 minutes, 8/12/21, the date is wrong, it says 8/12/2023. That's a
Okay.
typo, but it would be confusing if they were posted.
Which ones are you talking? 8/12/21, okay, so the date is wrong on the 8/12/21.
It says 8/12/23.
Okay, so we will approve those minutes with the caveat that it will be edited to say 21.
Right.
Okay, and then the 10/28/21, is there something we can do to,
Or we could approve them subject to correcting the.
you're right, the edits.
yeah.
Okay, so the 10/28/21 meeting, we will also put on for approval, subject to the edits that have been brought up by Darcy, now, by Marnie. And in terms of the 127/22 minutes, can we approve those, subject to those edits? It's the members present that seem to be the,
If I may. It seems like to me, that seems like something we'd want to actually approve later, because you want to, if someone determines who's present, you'd want people to then read and, like, if, for example, let's say you knew you weren't at that and you get listed as being present, you'd want to have an opportunity to say that.
okay, so we would have to,
They were needlessly long, but it seemed to me that there was a lot of references to people I had no idea who they were. and
Okay.
Chris, whoever he was. I mean, this was before my time on the
Okay.
committee, but it's still,
Okay, and that was the 127-22 set of minutes?
27.
yes.
Okay, so we will hold those minutes if, okay. Does anybody else have any other comments before we?
Just those two, Marnie.
Yeah,
Well,
well,
yeah.
127, I think, really has to
Yeah, we're going to
Got a
hold
real
that.
serious second look. And the other two, if they're just make those slight corrections, they're fine. I mean,
Subject, approval subject to their being
edits.
corrected.
Right, one was the date and one was the
Spelling of
the spelling, I think
Jim
both.
Reardon's
Reardon's
name.
name.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
And
those,
another-
And I did pull up the 127, so I do see what you're saying. It just starts, it doesn't, it
There's
doesn't,
no call to order and there's no
right, there's no call to
caption.
order, there's no, like, who list of who's here, so.
okay, so we will hold those minutes. And we have a motion to accept those minutes. Was there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Yeah,
Okay.
Subject to those corrections as noted.
That's correct. Okay, so except for the 127-2022 minutes, all those in favor of accepting the other 9 sets of minutes with the already discussed amendments?
I think you have to do a roll
We
call.
we need, right, we need to do a roll call. In favor?
Jack Lawrence, aye.
Dana Lara, aye.
Marnie Crouch, aye.
Ted? Yep,
Okay.
Ted, aye.
Okay, Ted, and Rosie Kennedy, aye. Okay, thank you, everybody. And now, I think, Tyler, it's your turn to speak, please.
All right, thank you very much. It's good to see all of you. Feels like it's been a while. I'm glad that we could meet this month after all that went down last week. Thanks, Patrick, for course correcting on that. So there's a couple major things I want to accomplish with this meeting. First of all, we want to really nail down the logistics and start planning the outreach for the next and final public community meeting. I want to give you all a chance to go over the draft goals and vision statement that I sent you a few weeks back now, a little while back. The goals were the second iteration. We had a very robust discussion on those at our last meeting. And so that's the second draft of those. And then the vision statement is something you hadn't seen before. And then talk a bit about what's coming in the near future and some homework. So, if you recall, at the last meeting, we discussed having the public meeting. I think the date and time we landed on initially was Saturday, October 21st at 1 p.m. So that time, at the time I was not aware, that is actually not a date that really works for the Barrett Planning Group side. So I was hoping, I don't remember if there was any particular reason we chose that Saturday or if we just picked a Saturday in late October, but does anyone see any issues with having it on the next weekend, October 28th instead?
Well, I'm not able to do October 28th, but I actually wasn't able to do October 21st either. I have a training both those weekends, so I guess it's a wash.
Well, October 28th, and I'm really not speaking from firsthand knowledge, but that's getting close to Halloween. So I don't know if the town or the schools or whatever have any events planned for that weekend that might interfere with a robust attendance.
What time of day
I
are we
also
talking about?
don't know if Bill Wilson is available on that date. So why don't we, if this is okay with you, Tyler, consider that as a tentative date and see who can and who cannot make it.
Okay, and Ted, you asked what time. We had been thinking like early afternoon, 1 p.m. That's somewhat flexible if there's a better time. I'd like to hear it, but that's just.
I'm looking at some sports calendars for families, and there is
Okay.
a Milton Wyndham football Halloween party starting at 5 p.m. at the American Legion. But
Okay.
if it's done by then,
When is the,
So, like-
and the town usually does that, where they decorate the pumpkins and all that. Is that weekend?
I'm not sure if it's that event. I'm just looking at
Yeah,
my family
okay.
calendar, and I see that Hamilton Wyndham football Halloween party.
Yeah.
Hopefully, let's see. So we would be going from like 1 to 3, 2 hours before that would start. Maybe not ideal, but probably not a deal breaker if someone is interested in coming. Who does these Halloween events? Like, whose website should we be checking? Is this like a school thing?
The one I mentioned?
Well, the sports are usually in the morning.
Just general like Halloween events. Like if there's like someone mentioned a pumpkin decorating thing. Like where would we look to see when that is?
That's through the rec center usually.
Okay. So as long as there's no major events like that, I think I agree, Patrick. We should just pencil it in for that date and then see who can come.
Can you just refresh my memory? The 21st, did we discuss that and decide that that was not a good time?
We had initially discussed that as the potential date, but in the intervening time, I realized that could be a problem for our side of things, getting people from Barrett Planning Group there and participating. So
21st or 23rd?
21st.
21st.
Yeah, we had,
First.
yeah, I think we.
Yeah, it's a Saturday.
21st, yeah. Okay. Okay, but that's not going to work, so we went to the 28th, okay.
yeah, I don't recall there being like a particular reason we went with the 21st. Just that was the day of the week and the time and around the time of month we wanted. So
Sure.
okay. So so what we're envisioning for this, so this is going to be an in-person meeting. I figured that probably, if possible, the same venue, that was the middle school cafeteria, yes, that we had that first meeting back on that like sub-zero frigid day.
Yep.
I think that venue was great. Like I said, 1 p.m., last roughly 2 hours, building in some time, for people to shuffle in and out. And the real point of this is, it's been a while since we've, been in front of the public. We have a lot to update them on what has been done on the plan. So we'll give a presentation on that up front. And then this is really going to be focused on the implementation and action item stage, because that's what we really want to move into. So that's the subject we want our participants brainstorming on and thinking about. I've got some ideas for exactly what activity. I haven't quite settled on it, but it's going to be something to the effect of, here are our major goals, either some sort of brainstorming exercise for people to connect like more concrete actions with those goals that we've identified. So as it comes closer, obviously, as in the past, you will have the opportunity to review the materials we're actually going to use. But that's the main purpose of it.
Rosie, can I ask a question?
Please, of course.
So I just wanted to, I know we haven't settled on the date, but last time I was the person that checked on the location. Do you want me to just inquire about whether that middle school site is available for the 28th? Do I want to wait until when are we going to confirm that date so that?
I think we should confirm that date, by the end of this week.
Okay, so if somebody just lets me know when, then I'm happy to check with the schools to see if we can get that location.
I just texted Bill to see if he was available for an event on the afternoon of the 28th, so I'll let you know
Okay.
what I find.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and the only things we need to accomplish before locking that in are, double checking for conflicts and seeing who can come. And that should be quite doable over the next day or two. So,
All right, do you need like a roll call of this group of, like, I'm not going to be there? Do you need to know how many other people are going to be there?
Well, preliminarily, it couldn't hurt. Jack, what do you think? Will you be able?
I think I'm tied up that morning, but I think I'm okay at 1 o'clock.
Okay, that sounds good. Marnie?
I think I can be, I think it'll be okay.
Okay. And Ted?
Yeah, I think I can do that.
Good, okay, and I can also be there, so that's 4 out of 7?
I did check the town's calendar, and nothing's listed that day.
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
Doesn't mean that Parks and Rec isn't doing something, but the
Yeah.
town doesn't appear to
Yeah.
have anything scheduled.
And it's usually, I think it's in the morning when they do that little pumpkin thing, or then it's like at twilight so they can light their
Yeah.
pumpkins. Yeah. So hopefully that won't. And, I don't think that's a huge crowd. It's mostly the teeny weenies who go to that, so.
Okay, that sounds great. So, the next step is to, think about outreach. So, on our end, we'll start putting together some materials. I think at least like a flyer, a written blurb. The past 2 meetings had pretty good attendance, so I think that this group is pretty good at getting the word out. So, I think we want to, recall what we did on those occasions and do that again, because we had pretty good turnout. So obviously we want to put it on all official town social medias, town website. I
think people sent out emails to their own groups as well. I know people responded, a lot of people came when I sent out personal emails, so hopefully that would be repeated this time.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
had
often
it
the case in towns, that like a personal invite just is the most effective. But, at whatever boards or committees you're members of, making sure there's some announcement, at least at the meeting that comes the soonest before the public meeting, So just, and I believe in the past there was some like printing and putting up of physical posters. So I'll get all those materials. You guys don't have to write or create any of that yourselves. We'll do that part in exchange for you guys getting the word out. So I hope we've got like a little over a month. I think we want to start doing that like fairly soon. I think Judy's got us on a schedule of like, I don't know, 5 or 6 weeks out, which is soon, if not now. So I'll get those materials to you guys like next week or something.
Yeah, I think last time there was a physical poster, but there was also an electronic one. I know, like, we put
the
in
digital
the
board.
digital, representation of the poster. I know we put it in the superintendent's report and sent it out like that, so that'd be helpful.
Great. Yep. So it may be the same thing, but a digital poster and one that's suitable for printing, perhaps the same document, and then more of a written blurb to incorporate on in emails and social media postings.
Can we use, Patrick, excuse me, can we use the sign in front of the public safety?
Yeah, that's the
Absolutely.
digital board.
That's a
Yep,
digital one.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Great. Great. Okay. I don't think there's too much more to say about this meeting. Everyone all right if we move on to the next topic?
Yeah, I think that's fine.
All right. So the other major thing I wanted to accomplish was give you a chance to give me feedback on the materials that I sent you. So I think at this point, I don't even remember when I sent them to you. You've had it for a bit. Hopefully you haven't totally forgotten. But I have the documents up if we want to look at them together.
September 1.
Okay. So, yeah, so the set of goals and the vision statement. So does anybody have comments right off the bat? Do you think it would be helpful to put these documents up and go through them? What do you think? I want to make sure the goal is to get all of your comments and feedback clearly. So what do you think would be most helpful to do?
Yeah, I think putting it up on the screen would be helpful.
Yeah.
And my comment, reading through them, several times, actually, as I think it really encompassed all of the issues that people had brought up. So I thought it was very well encompassing of the issues. Now, I don't know if we want to make everything one sentence, but I do think that the concepts were very inclusive.
Okay. That's good. All right.
I saw a little bit of a contrast between, protects listing the equestrian tradition, but then grows network of bike paths, trails, and sidewalks. I know trails is broad and includes multiple uses.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's if that works that way, or you might want to synchronize those a little more closely.
Okay.
Are you talking about the transportation goal, Ted?
No, I'm looking at
on the
the
vision.
Hamilton draft vision. This is
okay.
this is a 35,000 foot view of this all,
okay.
so it's meant to be very,
Ted, can
rolled
you
up
explain a little
like-
bit more, say more about what you mean by, like, I'm not quite, like, what's your, say more about that.
I don't have a problem with it. I just thought it's maybe a little bit of a contrast or doesn't sync well. Protects agriculture and equestrian, grows network of bike paths, trails. I mean, I don't know if trails, equestrian and otherwise, or I don't know. It might be fine the way it is. I'm not saying it's a real issue.
Trails, Ted, are for everybody's use. ECTA maintains them, the Essex County Trails Association, and they do consist of a network of private land as connectors between public lands. But the idea is that they're open to everybody to use, whether on bike, foot, run, ski, whatever.
Yep. I'm aware.
I think
maybe
rather not have
just a
bike.
suggestion. Grows our local network of public access trails, bike paths, sidewalks, something like that. If the trails, I feel like the trails are perhaps a more valuable asset here in Hamilton than bike paths, unless you're thinking of bike paths along the streets.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, and that distinction certainly would be good to make, although, bicycles are welcome. When you start to get into electric bicycles and some of those things, if somebody's trying to head down a trail at 30 miles an hour and runs into a horse, that wouldn't be good at all. But
It's happened to me.
I
Really?
actually think, Ted, I'm glad you stuck with it, because I do think this is actually really, I'm looking at this now, and I didn't read it that way, but if you read this, it says, grows our local network of bike paths, trails, and sidewalks to help people experience Hamilton without needing to rely on cars. And that really is talking about things like, I mean, to me, I'm in full support of that, but that to me does read like it's like, side of the road, bike paths, sidewalks,
I hear you,
not really
Dan. And
recreational
I'm a
trails,
cyclist, so I
right?
do, selfishly appreciate mentioning bike, but I think it's probably more correct to say just something like our local network of paths, trails, and sidewalks to help people experience. Because then we're not specifically identifying bicycling. We want to grow our network of these wonderful pathways and trails and sidewalks and other avenues through our town for all these uses that include equestrian, include biking, include hiking, include all the others. So maybe not even calling out bike there.
I have a suggestion that may clarify this. So with respect to grows, there's in the first place, a bit of a grammatical conundrum. So it says the town of Hamilton is a community that grows are, I would say it's, that's just me instead of are. But with respect to the bike paths, it could read, its local network of bike paths and sidewalks to help people experience Hamilton without needing to rely on cars, as well as its trails and pathways for, you could say, equestrian, for a variety of uses. How's that? Does that work?
To me, that complicates it.
Yeah.
I think it complicates it, but I actually think,
To have group wordsmithing.
yeah, no,
here.
it's hard to, I think the
Yeah,
point,
that's
though, is
true.
that,
I think
The trails aren't not there to eliminate reliance on cars.
right, that's the point, is
That's the point I'm making.
right, and it's a valid point. Like, the way that she read it, the first part, I was like, to grow our local network of paths and sidewalks to help experience Hamilton without relying on cars, that is something we, to grow. And that's different than protecting and even potentially growing our recreational trails, right? Like, is
But the
that,
trails actually are more than recreational. I know myself and others who use the trails to get around town.
okay, fair.
So are we going to take out the word bike there and just use paths? Is that what we
I'm
decided?
wondering, keep it generic. We want to grow ways for people to get around other than cars. I think that's what that sentence is about.
Then maybe it does make sense to just remove the word bike.
Yeah, and then it's all encompassing all of equestrian and bikes and runners and so forth. That's all I was thinking.
Or paths for non-powered conveyances.
Well, I think that, I think we could undoubtedly talk for, I mean, like, different people are going to have different opinions on electric bikes, and I think that I think that, this is just my 2 cents, but we're creating a framework here, and we don't really know what the future of electric bikes is yet, right?
That's true.
And like, that's something that is still unclear. So I think what our goal is to say, we're looking towards, allowing people to not rely so heavily on cars. And that's, to me, it's for a future group to sort of determine how they parse out the electric bikes, like.
Electric bikes are actually okay as long as there's courtesy kept in mind. I mean, that's.
They don't belong on paths through the woods.
I guess I just feel pretty, like, I don't think that's in our purview right now. That's just too.
Yeah,
right.
we just want to make a general statement, and I think, in my opinion, for the 14 and a half cents it's worth, is if we just take out the word bike and just
Yeah.
leave it all as is, it's a nice general statement. That's my thought.
Well,
I think that makes sense.
when I think of bike paths, I actually think of those areas separated from vehicular traffic adjacent to sidewalks. That to me is a bike path, and it has a specific purpose, as opposed to a path or a trail through, that's not necessarily connected or near roadways. It might intersect a roadway, but they're not parallel to roadways. I mean, our trails in town are generally not parallel to roadways, but if you drive up Highland Street, and you have to pass bicyclists, it might be nice to have a bike path so everyone knows what lane they should stay in.
In 1A if possible, but I don't know there's enough space.
So I think,
I'm just saying.
but
Yeah.
Asbury, the same thing. You
Right.
know,
Yeah,
bike
right.
paths really are there for the protection of the bicyclists from car traffic, and you know how
Yeah.
tenuous it
I
can be.
think, though, we need to remember,
So
this
I
is
think
just a
that
drive,
taking
this
out
is
the
a
word bike probably
30,000-foot
will
view.
Dissipate all these arguments.
Right,
So I think that makes sense to me.
yeah.
So in terms, actually, Rosa, you brought up something, it's sort of an interesting question, like the question of grammar, like the town of Hamilton, our versus its. That actually made me think, I think the difference is like using like our, that implies like, the people of the community, whereas if town of Hamilton, you use the word it, that sort of implies like the town government or the town, the sort of corporate entity. So I sort of like it how it is. That's my thought anyway.
Yeah, I see it. It personalizes it a little bit as a community that grows our downtown. Yeah, yeah.
Anyway.
I see the grammatical
Yeah.
concern, but I like the word "are."
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thought behind it, I think.
The only other comment I had was with respect to including a rich agricultural and equestrian tradition, and I thought it could just say including rich agricultural and equestrian traditions plural. Take out the
That tracks. Okay,
Sure.
there you go. Yeah, any more comments on the vision? I think that, yeah, I think it's sort of obvious from what I've presented you, but this is really just sort of meant to be the bird's eye view, one pager, and then the goals expand more, and then the actions expand more. So
Right.
I appreciate those comments. Any more on this? We can look at the goals next. All right. Swap documents. Yeah, so these we've already talked up a bit. So the major changes, so let's see. I'm drawing. Why am I drawing? Hold on. All right, hold on. I'm just going to stop sharing and do it. It's a fun feature, though. You could use that sometime. All right. Okay, so some of the changes are just like formatting. You know, I got it all on one page, did a little bit more of the formatting. It'll look even better in the final version, but this is just to get it all on one page and sort of see how these things will relate. I think a lot of the comments last time were like, you know, these, like, what's the connection between these? So I thought getting them all on one page, I consolidated the language a bit. Like I didn't actually take anything out, but just I rephrased it. So before there was like a grow, protect, provide for each. So I sort of combined those, but then highlighted where like key action words related to those were. So hopefully like seeing everything together and having all those highlighted action words like as a through line sort of helps some of the issues, excuse me, that you all were having last time. So what are your thoughts on this as it is now?
You're talking about economic development goals now. I would remove the word small, just say support for local businesses. If we're ever going to get this town on some sort of solid economic footing, small isn't necessarily going to do it, provided the rest of it all comes together, because that's all stuff that will be a concern to the planning board, ZBA, and things of that nature. So I would just take out the word small local businesses and just say for local businesses.
Yeah,
I had a suggestion there as well.
I did too.
So,
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go first?
No, you go.
so I would have support Hamilton's existing business community by making downtown Hamilton friendlier, more aesthetic, and more accessible, and encourage commercial growth in appropriate locations across town, capitalized by providing resources and support for local businesses. Well, except Jack said it.
Yeah.
So I know the HDC, the Hamilton Development Corporation, is working toward making the town more aesthetically pleasing and more cohesive visually. So I think that's something we should strive for in downtown. And we do have handouts for design guidelines. So to kind of try and promote that aesthetic for the town, I think is an important goal.
I like that comment. I think that's good. I think in when I was writing it, the word friendlier encompassed that somehow, but I think you're right that it makes sense to call it out.
I actually like that too. I actually had circled friendlier, and because I wasn't sure that friendlier was, I sort of didn't come up with the perfect word. I sort of said maybe more welcoming, but maybe the answer is what Marnie just said. The aesthetically pleasing might be, like I'm not opposed to us being friendlier, but I don't think we've really identified a problem of
Welcoming is actually a better word, because that seems to encompass parking.
yeah,
You know, it really does, relate better to accessibility. So I would suggest that that might be, friendlier is a little colloquial, if you will, but welcoming has a different connotation, slightly different.
Slightly different, yeah.
I like that.
I like it.
We sort of started in the middle, do we want to?
It's all right, we're one of these, we're one of those groups that just jump right in.
Yeah, well, addressing pressing comments first is fine.
Yeah.
Some of you might not have comments on some of these.
Yep.
With respect to the transportation goal, and
Yes.
again, this is my grammatical focus here, but we talk about points of interest in all areas of town, like trails. Well, a trail isn't a point of interest, it's a trail, it extends quite far. So I might eliminate trails and just leave schools, businesses, and the commuter rail station, and then there was a typo, at least in my version, at the end. And so
Oh, yeah.
I think trails are important, so I added the reference to trails in open space and recreation goals, where it says protect existing green spaces, scenic vistas, but I said protect existing green spaces, trails, scenic vistas, and recreation sites, et cetera.
Marty, how about just eliminating all the words after interest?
Well, that's
mean
up
in all
to the
areas of
rest of the
town?
group. In all areas of town, that could work. I don't have a problem with
When in
that.
doubt,
I
eliminate.
like the brevity.
Yeah, I actually do too, yeah.
All right.
Can we read it to make sure?
Yeah.
And we're also, again, here to being specific to pedestrian and cycling. Do we want to be more general?
Well, I mean, no more general could look like non-automotive, but I like, or something like that. I kind of like pedestrian and
Alternative.
cycling.
Connections,
Alternative.
or which implies non-automobile, or just be explicit about it.
Yes.
I don't know. I actually like pedestrian. Are you, what?
Pedestrian's obvious, it's the first
Yeah.
and foremost after cars is make it walkable.
Well, the pedestrian connections would include trails.
Yeah, that's why I think you could get rid of that. But I think you're saying you don't want, or Ted, you're thinking you don't want to call out just cycling. Is that what you're saying?
Probably, it's being specific to cycling. I think maybe most people think if I'm not going to drive a car, I'll ride a bicycle. If that's the case, sure.
I actually think cycling connections is important.
I do too.
Because actually, people could ride their bikes to the train station.
Absolutely.
There are lots of bikes, yeah.
And do,
Yeah.
yeah. And I think it's a good thing to do.
Yeah, I feel like in terms of transportation, like pedestrian and cycling really are the two. Like I think in the context of the vision we were talking about, I think being more inclusive of like, equestrian and other forms of transit makes sense. But I think specifically in terms of like, day-to-day like transportation stuff, I think those are the two that are really gonna be the focus.
Great.
And then in the cultural and historic resources goal, you have celebrating and preserving local history and agricultural traditions. I would just amend that to read agricultural and equestrian traditions to be consistent with the vision.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything, I think that's probably good because the equestrian tradition is a very strong,
Right.
long-standing tradition.
And then with respect to the natural resources goal, I had no problem with the goal. I think it's great.
Well, I've got some stuff to say.
But anyhow, so, do you want to go first?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so I would just amend that language So I'll start, and overdevelopment by expanding the town's ability to pursue and fund preservation efforts, and this is my change, and its commitment to carbon neutrality by 2040. I think that makes the sentence structure more parallel.
I think that is a little bit in conflict with the cats because it was a goal, but it wasn't an absolute. So that's the only caveat I would have about that statement,
You don't want to
Marnie.
make it a commitment?
It wasn't a caveat, even with the cats, the climate action team. The language was softened so that it was worked toward, as I recall.
So instead of commitment, like goal, maybe?
It is, right, and that's what we're in, is
Oh, okay,
goals,
it's-
yeah.
Yeah, it's goal,
Right,
yeah.
all right. So can we, I'm going to actually talk about a different part of this. I think that's a really important point, though, that it really was in town, really discussed about and made pretty clear that it wasn't a commitment to carbon neutral. It really was a goal and a dream, and we're working towards it. But
Exactly.
I do think that's important, because that was what people voted on.
Exactly, yeah.
I have some other things to say about that goal, but in a different part of it, so I don't know if we want to.
Go ahead.
Go for it, yeah.
So at the beginning, or closer to the beginning, it says, protect Hamilton's green spaces, natural resources, and sensitive areas. And then it listed from threats like contamination, the changing climate, and overdevelopment. And I sort of wondered if it would be better to just say, protect Hamilton's green spaces, natural resources, and sensitive areas by expanding the town's ability to pursue and fund. I feel concern. I don't actually feel very much concerned about the changing climate part, but I feel a little bit of concern about the contamination and the overdevelopment. Mostly because I think both of those, like overdevelopment, for example, right?
Now, what does that mean?
What does that mean? And we don't want to have goals in contrast with each other, right? Like, I think we want to trust the future boards and committees to say, okay, we have a goal of protecting our natural resources.
And sensitive
We don't want them to get bogged down in, like, oh, we don't want to overdevelop. Like, I think the idea is we want to protect our green spaces, natural resources, and sensitive areas. And how do we want to do that? We want to pursue and fund preservation efforts and working towards being carbon neutral. That's how we want to do it. I sort of feel like it's not, that's my 2 cents. Other people can say.
Can we add the word from environmental threats and then take out all the
I would agree with that.
superfluous language?
I would agree with that, environmental
Environmental
threats,
threats.
because we have them.
Well, ultimately, it's going to take bylaw adjustments, is what it's going to take.
Well, okay, but we're not addressing what it's going to
Bylaw-
take.
bylaws
Yeah, we're just,
Promote sprawl, so.
right, but, not bad. Well, but this is in relation to our natural resources, not just sprawl. That's a very general statement. So when we talk about natural resources, protect Hamilton's green spaces, natural resources, and sensitive areas from environmental threats by expanding, is that where we were
I
going to?
guess
I think if we, don't recognize environmental threats, we're being really ludicrous here.
I'm not saying that. No,
It's
that's.
happening. I mean, the UN is addressing it,
No.
just addressed it.
I think that I didn't make my point clearly, if that's what you're taking away from what I'm saying, because that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is,
Again, yeah, read it again.
I'm not trying to say that any of these things aren't real. What I was trying to say, because right now what you just said was environmental threat, so you took away overdevelopment. I guess I'm trying to be open to the idea of all of these things and potentially other things, and by listing them, like, if you say, you're limiting it, whereas I'm saying take them all out and just say, what do we want to do? We want to protect Hamilton's green spaces, natural resources, and sensitive areas by expanding the town's ability to pursue and fund preservation efforts and by working toward being carbon neutral by 2040. So a future group would say,
How do we do that?
how do we do that? And they might see concerns about overdevelopment, and that would fall under this, but they might also see, like Jack was saying, sprawl, which isn't necessarily exactly the same as overdevelopment, right? But that's not listed here. So, like,
It's a negative, yeah.
I guess that's what I'm trying to say. I'm certainly not in any way trying to say that I don't think environmental threats or I'm not trying to eliminate the word climate change, or that's not what I'm
No,
trying
it's
to do.
just the word environmental threats.
You know, but the other point, this is to your point, I mean, protecting these resources has to be by actions more than just expanding the town's ability to pursue and fund preservation efforts. I mean, it requires personal action on the part of people in town. It's not just getting money. It's, as Jack said, changing our bylaws, doing something about it. It's not just going out and getting a grant.
And it's
but I- okay,
whatever
but-
we need to do in order, I'm sorry, Dana, but whatever we need to do to prevent contamination is what it comes down to. And so I'm not sure, I don't think we need to be too specific. I mean, the towns, really the only way the town can express an ability to prevent contamination is through bylaw adjustments, is essentially what it comes down to. But I think that if
And
you
getting
make a
funding,
general
but yeah.
statement, that you just don't want to contaminate our environment, a lot of things will follow from that as a logical progression through the planning board's and ZBA's efforts and the Conservation Commission. I think to be less specific as to the means, I think it's a full court press is what it comes down to prevent contamination. So I would eliminate by expanding the town's ability to pursue and fund preservation efforts. We're not going to have any money for funding, but we can certainly control things through the bylaw adjustments and things like that. And I think that with the agencies that we have for that, Planning Board, Conservation Commission, ZBA, I don't think we need to name all those things.
So could we
what would-
just,
Let me get
Yeah.
a word in.
Yeah.
Having the bylaws, great. You need enforcement.
Right.
You need to have the ability to enforce. You need to have the personnel and the resources to enforce.
so that would be
That's the
an
police.
action
And the building inspector, right?
stemming from this goal, if we kept the goal very general, right? So that's a good point. So we're not into the actions yet,
The
but
means.
what if we left it as general as protect Hamilton's green spaces, natural resources, and sensitive areas from environmental threats using all
Means.
means available to the town? I mean, that would be bylaws, that would be funding.
It's building inspectors, the police,
Yeah.
it's.
Yeah.
But, see, without going through a whole recitation, I think
Right.
the goal is the general one, and that is preventing contamination, PFAS and all
Yeah.
that rest of that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
well, that's environmental threats, right? That's,
Yeah.
so what do people think about that? If we, by empowering the town to use all means at its disposal to prevent and enforce?
Doesn't that go without saying? I mean, do we really have to spell that out?
No, no, we don't have to.
I think if you've got it as a goal, then it doesn't, we don't have to spell it out, but
Maybe under the action.
I don't know where we are in the wordsmithing of this. I feel like we've gotten in the weeds, Tyler.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've got enough notes to maybe take a stab at amending that. I think I get all what you were all trying to say. So the next time you see this, I'll have messed around with the wording a bit to reflect this discussion.
Okay.
Thank you.
So are there any other major comments with these?
I have a couple, but they're not, I have housing goal. At the end, it says, grow the town's stock of affordable housing, including affordable senior housing. I'm not opposed to that. again, it's sort of the same thing, like, by singling out senior housing, does it feel like we're not including other kinds of housing? You know what I mean? Like, that's my worry on all of these, is like, is,
I agree with that, Dana. When you start trying to get too specific, I think you
Right.
lose the sense of the thing, that there are good things to do and bad things to do, and we have a government that hopefully is going to
right, like,
determine which
to-
is which.
yeah, like, to me, the goal is developing diverse types of housing and growing the stock of affordable housing, period.
But the town has, for a very long time, been very committed to affordable senior housing for years and years, right? And we keep missing that by doing these million-dollar condos. So I would submit that that's still an important central goal for the town at large, and I don't think anybody has been against that special niche of.
I'm not in any way opposed to affordable senior housing. I guess I worry that a future group reading that, like, does that limit them in terms of what kinds of affordable housing they might explore? Because we haven't singled out other kinds of affordable housing. We've only singled out senior affordable housing. That's what I'm worried about. Not that I don't want affordable senior housing. I'm just,
I would stand pretty firmly on that, and it's just including affordable senior housing as a special entity within the housing goal.
Well, this whole affordability thing, there are only two ways to make something affordable. And one is high density, extremely high density, so that the land cost is buried in how many people you can pack into a small space. And the other is by subsidy. And really our problem is that we're only at 2% CPA, which is where hopefully any subsidy would come from, whereas we're leaving a lot of money on the table by being at 2% instead of at 3%. Because we haven't, we only get the first tranche when they top up. I don't know where CPA is going, but 2% is really hamstringing us at this point. And if we really do want subsidized housing, I think those are only the two ways we can do it, and CPA then becomes critical to trying to do more.
Well, yeah, in certain 40B housing, there's a prescription against limiting it to just seniors. So there are different funding mechanisms, but the traditional 40B precludes limiting units to just seniors. There's an emphasis on families. So there are all these different ways of financing affordable housing. And so by including senior housing, I think that, to Rosie's point, that does suggest a different type of funding mechanism than just what we traditionally think of as affordable housing under 40B.
Yeah, I think
Whether
we
it's a
take
friendly
senior out of that.
40B or a traditional 40B, it's still, there's a,
so I guess I wasn't really, like, because we're just in the goal, so I wasn't really trying to get into the minutia of how it gets done. I was just trying to say, for me, if I were reading this 3 years from now, if I were a member of the select board and I were reading this, or the planning board, I would, I think this is a really important document that we're writing.
That's correct.
I really do, and I think words really matter, and so I think we want to be really thoughtful. Like, if you're reading this and you're saying, okay, our master plan says that we want to increase our affordable housing, and it singles out senior housing, I just think we want to be really careful and thoughtful about, is that our intent, is to single out senior housing? And I hear Rosie, and Rosie's answer is yes, that's our intent.
well, it says
And
including, it doesn't.
Right, it doesn't say only, right.
I'm
yeah.
not, it's a valid position. I'm not,
No, I know you're not. I'm just being emphatic that my opinion is that it's a very important criteria.
right, and I guess I am only just putting out there that my fear about it is that I see a need for a wide variety of affordable housing, and that's listed, that's in this goal, develop a diverse housing type, it's here.
Well, leave out the senior. I agree with you 100%.
No.
I'm saying leave out the senior, and Rosie is voicing
I'd leave it out.
Well, I think that this is something we disagree, and we might need to take a vote.
Yeah,
Like, you know.
I disagree because it's been a priority of the town for a long time. We have a large senior population, and we have been working on this for probably at least 10 years, and it's been a constant source of frustration for many people in the town, and therefore, I believe it's important to leave that stated goal to including affordable senior housing, because we have done nothing for that, even more than, I mean, we have done some affordable housing. I'm very happy that we've done that. And I think we need to include this specifically for the
Right,
reasons.
and I will add to that, we have diverse housing types, but diverse housing types doesn't address affordability. Diverse housing types is multifamily, single-family,
Apartments,
duplexes, apartments, rental versus
So,
ownership.
can I just jump in though and say, I mean, it's okay to have we have a difference of opinion, that's okay. But I think we can't, I mean, either Tyler should either offer, if you think that there's wording that's helpful, or I think we should take a vote. I mean, like, we don't want to just talk in circles forever, right?
Okay, so before you do that, I just quickly whipped up like a potential like compromise language, and then also I think I saw Ted raising his hand. I don't know if he wants to say anything.
At 7:30, I have another commitment. I'm sorry, I need to sign off. Did we have, other than this agenda item, I think we had one more.
So the only remaining thing is like a homework assignment. Ted, I'll follow up when I send it. I'll follow it up with like all the instructions and everything. So hopefully you won't miss much.
Okay, well, I apologize for signing off early, but I do need to go. Thanks, everybody.
All right, have a good night,
Bye-bye.
Ted.
Thank you all.
Bye, Ted.
So what about something like instead of, we could change it to something to the effect of, grow the town stock of affordable housing, including housing, appropriate for all age groups and households, something like that. So
Well,
not
that's-
precluding
that's
seniors,
another way
but
of
saying we
saying
need to be
diverse
mindful of all the
housing
different,
types.
like,
Well, housing types is not affordability. That's, well, it is and it isn't. I mean,
One of them.
well,
And what we've built so far has been senior, actually. It's just not attainable for the average person.
Right, and that's, I think what Rosie was saying is that the town has encouraged senior housing, but not affordable senior housing. Is
Right,
that what
and
you're
it's,
saying?
it's a very specialized need for seniors, and you can't just believe that it's good to put it, to pack senior housing in with diverse housing, because it's not. Seniors have very special needs, and I stand firm on that I think, I understand that there are a lot of things that we've taken out because we want to be as general as possible, and sometimes it's important to include specificity.
well, if we go to a vote, we have a problem.
No, and I actually, like,
We'll have a tie.
no, to me, these are really important. I think this is okay. Like, it's okay to have really important, like, I love that you're passionate about that. And like, I do. I don't, and I'm not, I mean, you're going to win because you're much more passionate about, at least for me. Like, I'm really just bringing up a concern about, like, does this make a future board sort of say, oh, we don't want to do that because we want to do senior housing,
I
or,
don't
you
think-
know,
I
that's my
I
concern.
don't think future boards are that unsophisticated. I think that they will be able to read this document and understand where it came from. I mean, certainly I looked at the 2004
Oh, I know.
master
Yep.
plan, and it, I wasn't confused by anything in that, and I don't think this would be confusing to anybody. And since I think the statistic I read was something like close to 70% of people in Hamilton have college degrees, I think they can figure it out.
I don't think it's that they're not sophisticated. I think we're actually having a pretty sophisticated conversation here about, like, by singling it out, you know, that you're saying this is really important to us,
That's
right?
right. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Right,
yes.
exactly. And so I think that's all I'm saying, is that I just want to be thoughtful about, does that feel like we're not singling out any other, you know, another group, like people with disabilities or, you know, whatever, single parents. Like, there are other groups that we're not singling out. We're singling out specifically this group.
Yes, we are.
And that's, I'm totally in support of hearing that that's what you're,
Well, I think that.
but that's all I was saying, is that.
When you look at the affordable housing, and Patrick, you might have better statistics at hand than me, but people who live who have signed up for affordable housing or have won the lotteries, they are not necessarily from Hamilton. But I think there are many seniors in Hamilton who are very much cash-strapped in terms of paying their taxes. And also, I was at a select board meeting where David Smith made a presentation about homeowners that have difficulty replacing their septic system. And so elderly people, again, you know, they may not have $40,000 or $50,000 of cash on hand to upgrade their septic system to make it compliant. So, you know, I think there are people, retired people in town that would like to stay here. This is where they have lived for 30 or 40 years or more, and there's really no options for them in this town.
All right, so I'm willing to back down if everyone could just accept, though, that I am not in any way saying that I am not in support of senior affordable
But
housing.
I think it is a bit of a niche, and I think there's a real need for it.
All right, this is not the hill I'm willing to die on, so I'm.
Bravo,
I'm
it
ready to
stays
move
in.
on.
Thank you.
Sorry, Jack.
I would delete everything after the word manor myself.
You're outvoted, fella.
Am I?
Yep, 3
I
to
move
1
that we
now.
delete all the wording after the word manor. Do I have a second?
No,
No. Okay, fine.
because I think diverse
fine. No,
housing
it-
types.
it's fine.
is
He didn't-
reference to the building.
We're good.
That's a reference to the building.
I
It
think
may
it's a
have
much more, I think it's
ramifications
a much
as
more
to
general term than that.
affordability.
I think we're,
Yeah.
We-
on.
we- we-
Yeah.
we-
I think
All right,
a 40B
it stays
housing
as
is a
is.
type. I think attached multifamily development is a type. I think that the word type is a much more general word than you're ascribing to it. That's why I'm comfortable with type.
I don't disagree with you. It's separate from affordable senior housing, though. The concept is different.
Well, I think that's a part of diversity.
I don't think so.
Well,
I think,
Well,
nobody supported my motion, so that takes care of that.
let's move on.
Yeah, any other major issues on any of these other bills?
I've got one more.
Move
Does
on to the
anybody,
next thing?
I feel like I'm doing, yeah, go ahead, Marty.
You can go first.
We might, I'm looking over, we might have the same thing.
Okay,
Never-
community facilities and services. I just have some stylistic stuff. So I would read
Sure.
it as follows. Provide high-quality public facilities and schools by engaging in preventive maintenance and renovations, improve Hamilton's capacity to provide community services through potential regionalization, and provide adequate public utilities, et cetera.
yeah, you say just adding in potential?
Oh.
I took out including and said, take out the comma. Provide community services through potential regionalization.
Yeah, I like that, although I actually said through increased regionalization.
Oh, yeah. Well, I
Because
like that
it's a
too.
goal, right? It doesn't mean, like, if they can't do it, they can't do it, but it's a goal.
I'd vote for that.
Yeah,
I could
so,
go with increased. I agree with that 100%. And I think
And-
engaging in sounds better than keeping up
yeah,
with.
I like engaging. And then
I like that.
my final thing on that, I had one more on that, which I didn't love the word adequate. Like, I was like,
Okay.
do we really, it's a goal. Do we want adequate public utilities? Like, I was like, it's a goal. Let's strive for.
And provide public utilities. You would just like to see that word adequate taken out?
No, I'd like it to be, I don't know, what do we, it's a goal, what do we want to provide? Do we want to provide excellent public utilities, or do we want to provide?
Going to the water issue.
I don't think we have to qualify with a word like adequate.
Right, so just provide public utilities, right, that's what I
That's
say.
not really what I was saying. I mean, I think that's better, but to me, if it's a dream or a goal, like, I don't want just adequate. I want excellent public facilities.
So that's why.
Right, but that's what it says, and provide potential public,
No,
and wait a minute, and provide public utilities that can meet the long-term needs of the community.
yeah, we don't need that.
I like
We're
that
at-
better than adequate,
we don't
but
need
my
that.
dream would be to put something in there that's like
That's subject to interpretation.
stellar.
No, that's subject to interpretation.
Yeah,
Just, that's future things. But Marnie, what was your point? I missed it, I'm sorry.
So the first change was, instead of by keeping up with, it was engaging in preventive maintenance. And the other one
Engaging.
was to provide community services through increased regionalization, not including through, just through increased regionalization, and provide adequate.
well, what about that word potential?
No, it
delete
changed to
through?
increased. I had
Yep.
potential, and Dana said, why not increased?
Right.
It's a goal, it may not
Capacity to
happen.
provide community services through increased regionalization and provide public utilities. I mean,
Okay. Just so you know, that's a hot button item too, right? So
Oh, yeah.
that's why I was just thinking through potential regionalization, through potential increased, so that we're not tying
well,
ourselves.
but is our, I mean, in other words, if our goal is to improve community services
Mm-hmm.
through increased regionalization, we wouldn't regionalize if it wasn't going to improve our capacity to provide regional community services.
Well, what we're saying is it will improve it through regionalization,
Right.
and not everybody feels that way. That's all I'm
No,
saying.
not everybody feels that way, but what I'm saying is you wouldn't, and if there were an agreement presented to you with a different community to regionalize something, and the Hamilton boards determined that it wasn't going to increase and improve our capacity to provide community service, we wouldn't do it.
Right,
Because-
that's why to say through potential regionalization versus saying
Or why not
that's the
by
only way to
seeking?
do
By
it.
seeking.
So,
But then you're saying that's the only way to do it.
All right, Tyler's got a thought.
yeah, I think that the thought behind putting that word including in there, I think is to Rosie's point. Like, I think obviously regionalization, it comes up, it's a major issue. I think it's worth calling out as an avenue to pursue, but there are other ways to improve the services.
Right.
And I think that leaves the door open for like recommendations. Like if we put, in association with this goal, an action item that doesn't involve regionalization, people will be like, but you said regionalization is the way.
So just say
You know what I
including
mean?
by regionalization?
So I just think I think all the changes are fine, just leaving the word including by seeking or through increased regionalization, just to clearly state that's not the only thing the town should pursue to improve
Including by
its
That's fine.
regionalization.
Okay, that's fine.
services. Yeah.
You like that?
That's the only thing I would add.
We just saved 20 minutes, okay.
That's fine.
Okay, Tyler.
Thank you.
All right.
Sorry, Tyler, you have two lawyers.
Honestly, I think there's been some good points. The goals are better now. So, it can feel a little like we're in the weeds sometimes, but if I feel like if we were truly talking about useless things, I would rein you in. Any other comments here? We've touched on most of the goals, it seems.
Oh, we did all of them, I think.
I don't think I don't have anything else.
Land
We didn't talk
use.
about land use or open
And
space,
open
but I didn't
space,
have
yeah.
anything on either of those.
Well, it's fine if we don't have anything, but
Trails to open space.
Yeah,
ahead.
I agree. Protect under open space, protect existing green spaces, trails, scenic vistas, and recreation
Yep.
sites.
yep, added trails in there.
I would take out sensible, because why would you do unsensible? Unsensible is a subjective.
Where are we?
evaluation.
Where are you?
Where are you?
We're in
Oh, at the
open
beginning of
space.
land use? Yeah. I
Joe,
can
Jack,
see that.
we're
Use
in,
regulations
Oh.
to promote responsible commercial and residential development. Take out sensible. Sensible is a
qualifier that we don't need.
yeah.
It's a given.
it's-
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yep, fair.
All right.
When in doubt, take the word out.
All right, sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Oh, are we done, kids? That was good.
I heard we have
Very
homework.
good. Okay, excellent. With the notes I've taken, either directly implementing the changes you gave, or in some cases just notes on what it should convey, I'll fix those up. Great. No, that was a great discussion. I appreciate that, all of you.
Yeah.
So that's the review of all the materials you have. So the only thing,
Can I just break in
the only
one
thing
minute?
is
I'm
left.
sorry, I just looked
was
at-
someone saying something.
Yeah,
I just
Jack
looked
is
at
talking.
open space and recreation.
Yep.
This whole business about make town land like Patton Park available and accessible public open space for the entire community. Are you saying take out the baseball diamond, take out the pool, take out I mean, what are we doing here?
No, that's not how that should be read. Where's that?
I'd take all that nonsense out of there.
Okay. So we do not want people reading it that way, because that is obviously not a good recommendation.
I mean, making town land like Patton Park available and accessible public open space. I mean, you'd have to remove things in order to change the utilization. And I don't think that's not a 30,000-foot determination.
Yeah, that's not what that's meant to convey. So I'll make a note to,
Well, everybody may think I'm
Fix.
stupid here. Am I doing the wrong thing?
No,
Well,
I think the way that sentence reads is confusing. Because if
Okay,
it
yeah,
was
that's a good note.
separated by commas, make town land like Patton Park,
Yeah.
as an example.
That's how I read
available
that.
and
Yeah, so,
accessible
yeah, so
public
maybe that's what that needs. Jack, though, I would just mention that there is a master plan going on for Patton Park to make it usable for the whole town. I think, it is pretty, it has a pretty defined use, and I think one of the reasons that the town initiated the master plan was to make it more usable by the entire community.
Well, the playground limits it, the baseball diamond limits it, the tank limits it.
The pool.
These are things that, the future governments may or may not think are good uses. And of course, what the schools are trying to do is to concentrate their athletic facilities in one place, but they're gonna have to do some things, that's way down the road somewhere, when they get enough land near the only land they own, which is the high school, middle school. So, I just don't, this isn't a 1,000-foot thing, a 30,000-foot thing at all. This is.
Well, could we leave out Patton Park then and just
I would just, yeah, I would,
say, to make town land available and accessible public open space for the entire community?
we have so little town land is what it comes down to. And anybody can use it for whatever they want to use it for, except a baseball diamond when a baseball game's on. I mean, you could, I suppose, knock golf balls out of the baseball diamond when it's not being used as a baseball diamond.
Well, right, but
There's
that's.
a football field there too, right?
Right, that's why I'm saying just take Patton Park out of that.
I would just take Patton Park out of there.
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, is that sensible or not?
Yes,
Yeah?
yes.
yeah, because that's.
Creates ambiguity.
Yeah, I think that's fine. Okay. On goal comments, going once, going twice. If something strikes you like the sort of like grammatical things Marnie was saying, or you can shoot me an email if there's like something like a correction to make or anything. But I think we're good on the discussion of the substantive issues.
Yeah, I think, Tyler, and I'd like to say, I think you did a really good job synthesizing the goals. I mean, we had some edits here, but I think in general, I mean, if you think about all of us submitting our version of the goals, I think you did a really good job. So thank you.
Well,
Yes,
thanks, I
thank you,
appreciate
Tyler.
that. So, only a couple quick things left to do. I think we're nearing the end. So, So just to review, you have now seen most of the chapters of this plan. The only things you have not seen are, one, the implementation plan, which includes all the specific recommendations. That's the major thing we want to focus on for the rest of 2023 and the focus of the meeting. And the only other thing is the key issues section. That is almost done. It's in I think Judy's doing a final editing pass on it, but what you should have that soon. And what that is basically, it functions sort of like an executive summary, but it really is just like pulling out these are the biggest concerns identified, more so than just giving a general summary of all the contents. It's like if you take nothing else away, these are the things this plan will need to address. So in relation to the goals we were talking about, for example, a key issue might be, a key issue might be the need to meet the carbon neutral pledge or something like that. That's a document you will have hopefully next week. That would be great. And so that's you'll see what it is when you get it. But it's basically just highlighting those key issues and takeaways, and then hopefully the action items will be oriented to address those issues and reach these wonderful goals that we've been workshopping. So that's the final. That final little piece before we move on to the implementation stuff. So you will see that. And so the only thing left is the homework assignment. So this is, actually, let me share my screen because I've got a little bit written up. All right. So this is something we basically always ask master plan committees to do when it comes time to talking about the actual recommendations. This is reviewing past recommendations. So part of this is, we don't want to just make up only new recommendations. If there's good, valid recommendations from past plans that are still relevant, then we want to, carry those forward. So we have compiled these. Patrick helpfully early on went through the previous master plan and commented on each item, whether it's been done or not. So those have been incorporated into this. But we also pulled some other recent plans that have explicit recommendations listed here. So the task for all of you is we put them all in a spreadsheet just to go through these and identify this is an important one worth keeping that we might want to consider carrying over into this master plan. So the first step of that is, was this done or not? We don't want to put a goal in here, an action in here that was already completed. That would be redundant. So it's, is this an outstanding item? And if so, do we consider it a high priority to incorporate to the plan? So you'll see there's quite a lot of these. So I don't want you to get lost in this researching an item that you don't know what it is. If you see an item on here that's I don't know what that is, I don't care about that, you can just skip it. But we really want to pull out what do you have strong feelings about, which of these are important. So that's really the key to this exercise. So like I was telling Ted, I will send this to you with actual written instructions sometime within the next couple days.
And
but
you'll
hopefully
send
the
the
exercise
documents?
itself is fairly self-explanatory. There's columns for you to fill in.
Okay. And
So
Tyler,
that will
you're
be
going to send
extremely
us-
helpful in starting to think about this next phase of things. And potentially, even if we identify some really high priority recommendations for past plans, maybe we could even incorporate that and get feedback on them in the public meeting. So this is a very important assignment. Are there any questions about this?
Yep, you will be sending us the documents, a copy of the documents? Okay, thank
Yes.
you.
Yes, so we've taken the liberty of pulling all those actions and just popping them in one spreadsheet. You don't have to go looking for them. Just go down one by one, skip any that you don't know about, and then just say, to my knowledge, this was completed or not, and if not, this is something we should consider high priority for the plan. Obviously, for the 2004 master plan, Patrick already did some of the groundwork of figuring out whether things were done. So for those, just focus on, is this a good action worth carrying over? That's ultimately the question we want to answer with this. That's the point of going through these alt plans. So if there's no questions, that's the final thing I wanted to talk with you about. So again, I'll try to send out that within the next couple days.
Okay, that's good homework assignment.
Yes. I don't want you to again, this is not meant to be something you spend like a million hours on.
Right.
So
Well, that sounds doable.
Okay, and so, okay, so I'm just thinking ahead here. So when is our next meeting? Is it the third Wednesday or the second Wednesday of the month? I forget the sequence. The second
I
Wednesday.
believe it is the second. Yes.
Okay.
Do we have that on the
It's the 11th,
What's that date?
11.
Yeah.
the 11th.
October 11th?
Hmm.
I will not be here.
So that
October
gives us a little time before a community meeting.
Yeah, I think the most important thing we'll accomplish at that meeting is going over that community meeting and what the contents are going to be. By then, we'll, have some draft materials and an outline of specifically what we're planning.
Okay. And Tyler, just for my edification, what is the finish date? Is there an estimated date as to when this will be completed? The whole master plan?
The whole master plan, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Patrick, I believe the contract extension was just through the end of 2023.
That's my recollection, yes.
Okay.
Well, I'm sorry, say that again, Tyler? End of
Just by the end of
2023?
this calendar year is when the contract is through.
And so you're anticipating that we'll be all finished by then, right?
That's what we want to do. That's the goal, is to wrap this up. I mean, we could spend, we just spent a long time talking about goals. We could spend a long time on this, but you've already spent quite a few years
my
on
gosh,
this, even
it feels
though
like
it's been a
decades.
normal length of time for me. So
Yeah.
it would be good to get you done on time and leave the town of Hamilton with an actual complete adopted master plan. That would be great going into 2024.
Yeah. Okay.
Obviously, the approval of the plan, depending on the exact date we finish it, the planning board might not get around to approving it until, January 2024 or something. That's up to them to decide when they're comfortable, accepting it. But we want our work to be done this year.
Okay. Does anybody have anything else they'd like
I
to
was making a
discuss?
career of this. I didn't want to, we can't end it till the end of the year.
I had a question. Jack, are you taking minutes for tonight?
I am.
Thank you.
Yes.
Good man.
Excellent.
Well, I got drafted.
So you can draft the minutes.
Yes, exactly.
Scripted.
So if there are no other questions,
Having
does this
avoided
seem like a
military.
wrap then?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, there we go.
Have a great night, everyone.
Thank you, Tyler.
Yo.